This week we're going to cover how to do lists, and lists are ordered lists, numeric, 1, 2, 3, or bulleted lists. We'll also be learning how to create graphical tables. And with graphical tables, quite often we use CSS borders. So we'll be learning about that. You can use CSS borders with anything. It does not necessarily have to be used in a table. You can use them around paragraphs, around headings, pretty much around any element. So you're going to start with the web-based readings, and we cover tables, ordered and unordered lists, some styling for that, and then we cover borders. Then we get into the lecture demo, and we start with our lists. So how to create numbered and bulleted lists, and they are very similar. We also get into a description list, which is a little bit different. So this actually goes through and shows you examples and the HTML used to create them. We get into description lists, so you can see what that looks like. There are links to the interactive site. We also have nested lists, and I will tell you the validator always flags nested lists as errors, but as long as you've coded them correctly, you will be fine. Okay, that's one case where I'm going to tell you to ignore the validator. We get into border properties, which are kind of neat. So all the different ways to add borders. And then we get into how to create graphical tables. Okay, and by default, they don't have any borders. So you really need to add the borders in order to see the different cells. So we get into how to create these tables, how to style the tables, and then how to combine columns and rows. So if you're familiar with Excel, spanning is the same as merging. So we can combine either two columns or we can combine two rows. So you're going to learn how to do that too. Finally, at the very bottom, we get into basically using CSS columns. And this is kind of like news columns. And so there's not that many CSS properties that you have to use to get a newspaper style column. And so this covers the properties you need to use to achieve that look. And then once you're done with that, you're going to do the textbook assignment. So you'll start with creating the folders, and then you'll download files. And the files are going to have you practice using the lists, using the tables, and the CSS columns. There are graphics that you'll also download, and there is kind of a starter CSS file. Okay, and then you're going to go through the directions. The cake recipe, this is a real recipe, by the way. You will be basically converting the HTML into unordered lists, ordered list, nested list. We're even going to have a definition list in there. The video shows you how to do it, and there are directions that walk you through it. We have, obviously with all of these lists, we have to do some styling. So we've got our style sheet that you will be modifying. And we're also going to create a little table in there. So this is actually a table. So you'll learn how to make that too. Then for the Hitchcock page, you will be adding the table to the page. So the table is not in there. You will be adding it. I encourage you to use copy and paste. And the video actually walks you through creating this page using copy paste. So it might be helpful to watch the video. Once you've got the page set, then you're going to add the styling for the table. And then the last step is going to be to merge the rows and columns. Okay, so this is telling you and showing you how to do that. The last task involves creating news columns. So you're going to open up breaking news and you will be adding the internal style sheet to that. This is a summary of what you need to turn in and how many points everything is worth. For the lab assignment, there is a video that you can watch. But basically you're going to be creating your own pages. And so maybe there's not a video. No, there's examples. So you are going to be doing your own page, can be on whatever you want, and it's going to use lists and tables. So when you're doing your own page, you do need to adhere to NMC's Title IX and the Student Code of Conduct, which I've linked to here. And the minimal requirements for your page are one ordered list, one unordered list, so a numbered list, a bulleted list, and one table. Okay, and so however you want to incorporate that, that is fine. You should have an external style sheet. And this is just an example. You'll notice that I've got the HTML elements here. I've got the CSS properties, but I don't have values because you guys have to figure out what those values are. I do have an example. So I did a little resume using, incorporating the requirements. And you can do something similar, or you can do a completely different type of page. Okay, like I said, it's up to you what you create. Then you're going to do another page using the news column format. Okay, and the page can be whatever you want. I actually took a poem, and so you'll see that I did cite it down here. Okay, and you can kind of see how I did this if you right click and go to view page source. Okay, it shows you all of my CSS and then the body, and lastly, how I cited it. Finally, in your assignment page, you are going to be creating bulleted lists by converting the paragraphs that contain links into bullets. And this is what it's going to look like. And in VS Code, there is a replace command. Okay, so you can actually use that. And you'll notice that I'm just replacing the P, or I'm having it find the P in the angle bracket and replacing it with an LI in an angle bracket. And this will get opening and closing tags. Okay, so if you do this command and key in the find and the replace just like this, that will make this pretty easy. You will still have to manually go in and add the opening unordered list, so the opening UL and the closing UL. So for this, you'd need an opening UL here and a closing UL here. Opening UL here, closing UL here. Okay, so, but you'll have to go in and manually enter those. But at least converting all of those paragraphs to lines can go quickly with this replace command. Okay, so this is an example of what your code should look like, and you can see I've got the opening UL and the closing UL. You will have to manually add those. Okay, and then this is the grading rubric showing you how you will be graded, and you need to transfer everything to the web, and then you will come in to the Dropbox and enter done. So those are the required assignments for this week. I do have an optional discussion. VS Code has a lot of extensions, and the extensions can make coding more pleasant. So If some of you have added extensions, you can share them in here. I have also included some that are more popular. And so these links kind of describe what they are and how to install them. So have a great week. And if you guys do have any questions or if you run into problems, please let me know.